I've actually kind of struggled installing sights on M&Ps for some strange reason. At least in my experience, it's nothing like installing them onto a Glock slide. Glock slides are just phenomenally easier. And what I mean by that, Night Fision actually sent us a set of their sights for the M&P, and I actually broke the front sight installing it, which is why I wanted to make this video so that you guys don't make the same mistakes that I make. You know, that's one thing that I like to do on this channel. I don't like to hide my mistakes from you guys. I want you guys to know that. There are some haters out there that like to criticize me for it, but whatever. If you're the kind of person that's never installed sights on an M&P, but you've installed them on tons of different Glocks, you need a lot more tools and you need a little bit more skill in order to get them on correctly and properly, and which is what we're going to try to go over today. Hopefully I don't screw it up again. However, I did install a set of sights onto my M&P 2.0 Compact. I installed the XS F8 sights. I've already done a review on these, but if you want to see that video, I'll put a link right up here for you. And then on my full-size M&P 2.0, I actually have the Tritium HD XRs. Great sight. I also have a review out on these as well. A couple things that you're going to need. You're going to need a little bit of gun lube just to help them slide in. I'm just using some shooter lube. This is some lube and oil that I've been using for quite a while. If you're interested, I do have a coupon code. I'll put a link down in the description below. That way you can check that out. I also have the Wheeler hammer and punch set. I'm actually gonna have to buy some new punches because when I attempted to install these the first couple of times, I actually broke my sight pusher and I pretty much jacked up all my brass punches. You're also gonna need brass punches, and I only have steel left. A couple other things that are really nice to have. This sight retainer. I believe you can buy these separately, but this came with the Apex trigger kit, and what it does is it holds down a spring that's under your rear sight so it doesn't come flying out when you remove it, so you can hold it down when you're reinstalling it. These are super helpful. You may need a little bit of Loctite to put onto the sights to ensure that they don't, slide around. That may or may not be used. You're also going to need a tiny little Allen wrench. I don't know the size, but basically you're going to need it to loosen this rear set screw right here. A couple other things that are really nice to have is nice sight pushers. Like I said, I've already broken two putting sights onto these. This one is the Vism sight pusher. I've actually been really impressed with this as a sight pusher system. I used one of those janky universal ones for like 2 years, gave up the ghost. So I purchased this one, but just a heads up, I already did break these ears right here. I actually posted it up on our Instagram page if you want to go see it. But the cool thing was NC Star actually commented and said, hey, shoot us an email, we'll send you a new block. And they sent me a new block, like literally 2 days later. So big shout out to NC Star for that. They didn't send me this sight tool. I actually purchased it. So that was really nice of them. But it's definitely a great little sight tool. It comes with all these little bushings so you can hold different types of slides. That's one of them. But today I'm going to be using this one. And this one is the MGW. This one will work on different Glocks and M&Ps. And then if you want to use it on different types of guns, they have different attachments that you can purchase. It is the most expensive one that I've seen. They're over $100. But I will say, I've already used it once or twice already, and it is flat out amazing and simple. And I'll put links below for everything that we talk about, guys, because this thing is just simple and super freaking effective. So highly recommend this tool. I'm also going to be using this Apex Armor's block that they gave me a while back. That way we can get these sights out. We're also going to be using a set of calipers just so that we know that our sights are properly aligned. I already kind of started removing this front sight earlier, but looking at the original sights, the original M&P sights, you got the 3 white dots, you got a set screw here, and you got your dovetail front. So here we have the Night Fision sights. One cool thing about their sights, they have a ton of different configurations that you can get them in. You can get them with an orange front or a green. You can get it with a squared off rear notch, or you can get the U notch like I have here. You can get it with blacked out, no tritium in it, or you can get it with tritium in it, which is pretty freaking sweet. That yellow that's in there, that isn't photoluminescent paint. I believe it's actually like an injected polymer or something like that. It's not photoluminescent, so you can't charge it with a flashlight or anything. Before we even really get too far into this, let's go ahead and remove these sights here. There are many ways to do this, guys. You can use a vise. I'm just gonna use a bench block and hammer the crap out of them until they come off. That's just kind of how I roll, especially on the M&P 2.0s that I have here. The 1.0s don't seem to be as bad to me. The 2.0, these dovetails, dude, these are tight as crap. This is why I broke my sight tools, was because the sights were so tight. Even the OEM sights on the OEM frame, they were super tight, and that's what broke my tool the first time. A quick little trick that I learned from Mr. Guns and Gear, just throw it in the freezer overnight and take it out, and it'll be easier to remove the sights if that's the case. Something I've learned from breaking these sights and breaking sight tools, don't force it. You know what I mean? If it doesn't feel like it wants to go in, it probably ain't gonna go in. So just a heads up on that. So now that we got the front sight out, let's start test fitting the new front sight and pray to God that we don't break it. 2.0 slides. We got it, looks like it's pretty well centered, but we're gonna double check that. I got this little plastic block right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick it here on the side, hold it with my hand, and I'm gonna measure the distance of the sight from each side, just to make sure we are centered up with this as much as possible from this part, not down here, because I have been hammering on these little parts, and so those distances might not be quite correct. So 2.08, let's try the other side, 1.3. So it looks like the sight, because this side is a little bit longer in distance, so we need to kick that sight to the left just fractions of an inch. Or millimeters, that's what we're gonna be doing, millimeters. I don't know why the United States doesn't use the metric system, it's amazing. All right, let's try that. So we got there 2.159, 2.13. I'll call that good. I'm just gonna wipe it off. I don't think I need to use any Loctite. This one went in pretty nicely. So now let's move on to this rear sight right here. Get started on this rear sight. I don't remember what size the Salin head is, but to get started, you just literally just turn it to the left. That way we can start pushing this thing off. And in order to use it with this sight pusher right here, we need to remove our back plate. And you do that the same way you do with a Glock. You just push down on this little plastic tab and then push the back plate out. Keep your thumb there. Then you're gonna push down on this little plunger, and that brings your striker out. What I really like about this tool, more than I do the others, is the others press up on the slide, and this one pulls down in the rails. So literally you just align this with your rails, tighten it down, boom, shakalaka. Now I'm gonna get started on turning it. I'm gonna go from the left to right, facing the rear, because that spring-loaded detent spring is on the right side, and I wanna be able to stop it before that flies out. Yeah, these are coming off tremendously easier than the M&P 2.0 stock sights. Trust me, it was nowhere close to being this easy before. Okay, call that good. Twist that to the left to release it and pull it out. Now what I'm gonna do, this is just me. You guys can do it the way you wanna do it. But I'm literally just gonna start tapping down with the hammer on this side, and so I can catch that spring. And I caught it. Perfect. Little spring, and there's this little flat piece that sits on top of it. There's this little round dial, sits on top of that, and that's what depresses on your safety plunger. So one thing I just noticed is there's really no set screw on these new sights. So that's kind of interesting, but I just want to do a little test fit. Yeah, those are gonna need to be filed. So again, like we did earlier, we're gonna file it like we did on the bottom. I'm just gonna knock down these edges a little bit. Knocking down the edges really helps tremendously. And this is what I mean by knocking down the edges. I'm just putting a small little chamfer on the edges all the way around until I can get it to start, you know, where I feel like it's gonna start sliding in easier. Still really tight. Now I'm only gonna file on the bottom, not on the sides. File a little bit off, test fit it again. With this one, I'm a little bit wary just because there's no set screw for me to fall back on. So if you take too much off, you might be screwed. All right, let's try to get these installed here. Let's put a little oil down in there, a little bit right there, a little bit right there. We're gonna take our little spring right here, drop it just straight down, take your little semicircle, and you're gonna depress it down right on top of that spring, but you wanna make sure you don't bind it. and we're gonna be using this tool to trap it. So let me show you. One thing that's kind of a bummer about the 1.0 is on this little plate that depresses. On the 2.0, there's a little nipple on it that goes into the spring. This one doesn't have anything, and it makes it a lot more difficult. All right, there it is. You want to make sure that that plunger still functions correctly, that spring's not bound. Now we're going to take our rear sight. I'm going to put it on top of that. And before we remove this tool here that's holding it down, I'm going to use the nylon side of my hammer. I want to make sure it's going to cover that. Perfect. Put it right back into our sight tool and start turning it and pushing it in. Go in this direction, and that plunger is held in place. All right, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to measure our distance between each side to make sure that we are aligned properly. 32.14. So at 32, 31.96. I'm going to call that good. I'm not going to go too crazy on it. All right, so let's put our striker back into here. Just drop it in. You'll notice that it kind of gets stuck right there. You just push on this plunger and it goes the rest of the way in. Same thing, get that started. Put that on just like that. Put it back onto the firearm. There we have it, guys. These are the Night Fision sights. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing a review on these in the future, but I wanted to make this video for you just because I had such a difficult time installing sights on an M&P 2.0. There are millions of other ways to do it. This is just what I found works best for me. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below.